as an illness, because I remember I struggled a lot with guilt and confusion because I thought, no man, I'm a crybaby. I need to put my big girl panties and just soldier on, you know.
Mm.
And as I soldiered on, I created more.
Hi, family. Welcome to Real Life Stories with Boitumelo Mankuroane. For those who do not know me, my name is Boitumelo Mankuroane, your host. If it is your first time on this platform, you are more than welcome. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button and do not forget to hit the notification bell so that whenever I upload, you begin to get the notification. And the new service, thank you so much. You are welcome into this family. And the returning, so this family was never going to be the same if you are not part of it. I really appreciate wherever you are today. Please make sure that you grab your chair and you sit, because today we are going to hear some mouthful informative. I can say but today we have Tsametse Nkuta today with us, our mental health expert, a life coach. She's an HR specialist. She's going to teach us. She's going to show us. She's going to help us to model bophelo ba rena. There are many things that we have lost in life. There are many things that has affected us. She's going to help us into dealing with them. How are you, mommy?
Thank you. I'm good. I am good, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate. I don't know how to thank the Lord. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
I believe you're not only here for them, you are here for me as well.
Of course.
Okay, I have a few energizing questions that I would like to ask you. Fela hore re thube a e senyane.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
Definitely green.
You love nature.
I love earthy colors, your greens, your brown. Those are my colors.
And if you were to travel now, where would you go?
Maldives.
My God.
Yeah, that is my next destination on my bucket list, to visit the Maldives.
I think people know that I want to travel Africa. I love Africa. But recently I want to go to Switzerland. I want to go to Turkey. But if you go to Maldives, please do not forget me.
Oh, definitely, dear. Definitely.
And if you were to give us maybe a quote or a word, your favorite word, a quote, what can you just tell us?
I almost share a quote, and I've put it on my profile on LinkedIn, where I always say, "Hore," when I ponder on the things that I've been through, and I ask God, why me? And then I quickly remember to answer myself and say, why not me? Because everything that I've been through, all the trials that I've been through have been a blessing in disguise. So yes, why not me?
Why not me?
Yeah.
And with yesterday being Workers' Day,
Yes.
and we are in May, and May is the Mental Awareness Month.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this two? What do they have in common?
Yeah, that is a very good question, Boitumelo. As we know that Workers' Day historically is basically to celebrate the workforce of the South African, or people around the world,
Yes.
for contributing to the economy, for contributing to our communities and so forth. And the Mental Health Month is basically about creating awareness on mental health illnesses. So basically, these 2 days have a lot in common because they focus on the overall well-being of individuals or employees. So I'm happy that I'm actually here in this particular time of the month and
Yes.
after Workers' Day, because my the conversation we are going to have is around exactly that: um, mental health of employees.
One thing that is making me to love you the most is that we hear about mental health,
Yes.
and I think it is for the first time I meet somebody that is touching the corporate,
Yes. Yeah.
because it's like employees, you are just an employee. When we're talking about mental health, we're talking about kids, mothers, fathers in the house.
Yeah.
But I thank God that you are here. You're going to talk to, I believe, the right people on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And can you please tell us about your mental health journey? What really motivated you to start this, to be in this?
Yeah. So, this topic is very dear to my heart. As you mentioned earlier, that am an HR specialist by profession.
Yeah.
And I've been in the corporate space for the past, wow, like 20, 25 years.
Jesus.
Yes. And I've recently been certified as a life coach, and I'm also a mental health coach. Thank you,
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. And the reason I ended up marrying these two was because of my lived experience within the workspace.
Okay.
I stopped working about 3 years ago. I was medically boarded, and basically that means that I had to leave work due to illness,
Okay.
and it was a mental illness related, issue. I was diagnosed with burnout, depression, and anxiety,
Mm.
and I went on like short-term leave, for about 2 years, and then I was, I came back trying to reintegrate, but I still went through a lot. I
Mm.
couldn't, so for me this is important because I've lived the experience, I've worked the journey,
Mm.
and in my experience also as an HR professional, I've seen how people tend to shy away from having these conversations,
Yeah.
shy away from putting their hand up and saying, what, I have this problem, I need help, for many reasons.
Mm.
Some might be fear of discrimination,
Mm.
some might be not even knowing what is wrong with them.
Mm.
So yes, you are absolutely right when you say this is a passion for me,
Mm.
that this is something that is dear to my heart, and I thank people like you with the platforms that you have
Thank you.
to continue the conversation and to create awareness.
Wow. I just want to, I'm
Mm,
listening to you now. I just want, how did you find out? How did you see? Because I
mm,
think, more especially as a black child,
yeah.
there's certain things they are not for us.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
maybe so,
Yes.
you know, I'm just listening to you.
Mm,
Well, because there's somebody that is listening to you now as we speak,
mm.
but ababone banana problem, but abayibona.
Abayibona.
How do you
Yeah.
as an individual, or how did you realize,
Yes.
or you need help?
Yeah. And you're touching on something very, very important, because in our culture as Black people, it's not something that we talked about. It's
Mm,
not something that we dwell on. If
mm,
you have depression, it's like, you'll get over it,
mm,
pray, and,
mm.
whatever, tomorrow you're over it. But in those, we took that approach because of the lack of knowledge, right? We
Yes.
didn't know
Mm,
how to articulate what we were going through. We don't know how to name it and so
mm,
forth. So with me, it was actually the same, right? I started not feeling well for, like, I think 3 years,
mm.
and I kept on going to work. And I used to say to my colleagues, guys, I am so tired. I am so depleted, and of course, because we are very close, then they would say, no, take time off. But you see, when you are depleted and on the verge of burnout, 1 day of leave or 2 days of leave won't remedy the
Yeah,
situation, because
yeah.
now you have been exposed to a high level of stress for over a long period of
Mm,
time. And there were issues of lack of sleep that I experienced, high levels of anxiety and panic. So my
mm,
body was always in overdrive,
mm,
you know. And at that time, I did not know. All I knew was that, what, I am not myself.
mm,
And then when I finally when my body, and I often say to people that my body just gave in.
mm.
I was at work the other day, and I was busy with some spreadsheets and things like that. And I just blacked out. I couldn't remember where I saved my documents. And I remember at that moment, I closed my laptop. I said to my colleagues, guys, I am not well. I'm going home.
My
I went
God.
home. I went to see a doctor. And till this day, I've not returned. That's when the diagnosis came, and then I started the journey. But the trauma that my brain has gone through, it was just so severe.
Mm,
And I also like what you mentioned, that when we speak about mental health illnesses, we speak about that in the context of, like, family issues,
mm,
trauma due to sexual assault and things like that, we don't focus on it with regards to the work context, and we know that, toxic environments can, impact our mental health. And a toxic environment does not necessarily mean that you are being mistreated or things like that. I had an awesome career, but the level of pressure over the years
Yeah.
contributed to that. To that.
And while you were going through that, did you have a support structure?
Fortunately, I did.
Mm.
First of all, like I said, and this is what I also want to highlight to your viewers and your listeners to say, you can have this situation while you are still having an amazing career, an amazing life. It is so, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so complex, right? So in my case, I had an amazing career, amazing career. I was identified as a top talent in the organization.
Wow.
The organization invested a lot in me, in my career, in terms of studies and, giving me opportunities for assignments overseas and so forth. So my career, I had an awesome career, right? It was not lack of anything. But like I said, over time, the levels of stress got to me. And I think also when we talk about mental health and well-being, we need to also talk about how do you own that as a person, right? It's not only the responsibility of your employer, it's a joint responsibility.
Yeah.
So I also had to acknowledge and own that I had a part to play.
Yeah.
I was young, I was driven, I had no boundaries, I was not sleeping, So obviously, all those things over time, they're not sustainable. Your body will give in.
Wow.
Mm.
And how do we bridge the gap between an employer and employee mental health conversations?
Yeah. That's a very important one. It's not easy. I think as South Africans, we are getting there. A lot of organizations are starting to acknowledge that mental health in the workplace is an issue, and a lot of employers are trying to implement strategies to have open conversations. So bridging that gap is precisely that, starting to have open conversations, and also for organizations to start constructing policies, procedures, guidelines around mental health, so that when someone is not well, when someone is sick, we know exactly what to do. We have a manual, we have a blueprint of where we can go and say, okay, this is how I handle a situation like that.
Yes.
So this is where we start. Let the organizations have a mental health policy so that there is no gray areas, right? This is a very complex conversation. It's a lot of people are still trying to find, even managers still trying to find their feet in how they deal with the issue, right?
Yeah.
So it's about creating the policies and procedures and have them in place so people to know how to navigate. When a person has been in an accident or maybe has a diagnosis like, I don't know, maybe cancer and things like that, you know exactly how to deal with it. But for mental illness, because it's not seen, it's not,
Yeah.
you cannot see it, you cannot, it's hard. So that's why we need to have clear policies in place to guide both the employer and the employee.
I hear you. Plus, for some of us who put on makeup, we cover
Yeah,
it.
you
It
cover
cannot be
it. Yeah, it
seen.
cannot be
Yes.
seen. It cannot be seen.
And so, what is the mental health status of South African workers?
Yeah, at the moment.
Workforce.
So research right now shows that, a quarter of the South African workforce will be diagnosed with depression, during their career or during their working career. So it is a huge number, right? And we've seen the spike, obviously during COVID, and over the years we've seen the rise. And the scariest thing is that out of that quarter, only 15% will report and seek out help. So which is why we need to be aggressive in these conversations to create an awareness and let people know that there is help out there. A lot of people will sit and suffer in silence, and not report it or seek out help.
Do you perhaps know why such a low percentage of people seeking for help?
Mm,
Because you can tell that I don't think out of 100%, if it's such a low
yeah,
percentage, it's quite few
it's quite
people that are
few.
seeking
Yeah,
help.
it's
Why
quite
is
few.
it happening like that?
Um, it's a good question, and I believe it's because of the stigma.
Mm,
There's still a lot of stigma around mental health, and it could be a number of reasons. People are afraid to be discriminated against. You are building a career, and you don't know how that will impact
mm,
your career or your promotion prospects and things like that, right? And in other cases, like I mentioned in my own case, is that I knew I was not well, but I wasn't sure what was wrong with me up
mm,
until my body literally failed me,
mm,
you know. But I had seen the signs, but I was not sure, and I was not sure of the seriousness of it and things like that. So it's a number of things. And some people, again, we talked about policy, there's no policy around it, so
mm,
they don't know where will I even go to ask for help in the organization. Do I go to HR? Do I go to my manager?
mm.
Where do I begin? So it's a number of things that require a holistic approach in how
Yeah.
we move forward
Mm.
with their mental health issues in
Yeah,
the
because I've
workplace.
noticed that many people
Mm.
they have stress, more
Yes.
especially in their workplaces.
Hmm.
But how do they know that this stress is no longer normal?
Yes. Yeah.
This one is no longer normal. I have to do something about it.
Yeah. And it's so easy to miss, right? Because a lot of our workplaces, it's common for the environment to be stressful. It becomes the norm where you're always running around, in panic mode and reactive and things like that. But I would say that, and also looking at what I experienced and what I hear from some of my clients that
Mm,
I coach is that, if there will be issues of job satisfaction. It
yeah.
goes very, very down. You don't have any joy or interest in your work anymore. Low concentration, right? You cannot focus and things like that. And then there's those physical symptoms that manifest, like your neck pain, back pain, and all of that. And then there's issues like sleep, either lack of sleep, which is insomnia, or too much sleep.
Yeah.
So there will be telltale signs that shows you to say, you know what, this requires further investigation,
Mm,
even change in behavior. You're no longer yourself. You're
mm,
now snapping and short-tempered and moody. So now you know that, let me investigate this in my own situation. And if I, looking back, and I'm thinking, how could I have missed this?
mm.
I remember I used to tell my colleagues that, guys, I am so tired. I literally sleep when the traffic light goes red.
My God.
Yes, I literally just close my eyes and just to doze off, just even if it's just those few seconds, the traffic light, and I will just wake up with everybody, pressing the
Hooting.
hooting, beep, beep, and I'm like, but because it is so overwhelming, the fatigue is so overwhelming, I just need to close my eyes. And it happened for a long period of time. And I would go to my GP, and then I would get a vitamin B shot and then feel better. And then, so only when I was diagnosed and I started to understand to say, this is what was going
Mm.
through my body. And then I had to stop driving for a while because at that time things were really, really bad. So you see, there are telltale signs that we should not overlook or,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I'm listening to you now. I'm thinking that we always think that I'm just tired.
yeah,
It's just fatigue.
yeah,
I thank God that you are here.
yeah.
And if somebody has a medical issue, challenge,
Mm,
medical health challenge
mm,
at work, an employee at work,
mm-hmm,
what rights do they have?
yeah. So, the work that I do also is to basically help organizations construct policies, right?
Mm,
And obviously, if your organization does not have a policy in place yet around mental health, then you know that the South African Constitution and the law will protect you,
mm,
because our Constitution is clear, right?
mm,
We have rights to equality, we have rights to human dignity. We have rights to fair working conditions and fair labor practices. So in that aspects, you do have rights, right? And if you are not well, you can also take time off. Obviously within and also have the rights to some sort of arrangement, working arrangements and accommodations. So it is important for individuals to familiarize themselves with these laws and to familiarize themselves with the policies of their organization. And of course, in the absence of any policy within the organization, then the law of the country and the constitution still protects you.
As you've touched on the policies,
Mm,
what are the progressive mental policies that South Africa can learn from, or people in South Africa can learn from?
yeah. So there's a couple, right? And then I think that the one that comes to my mind right now, it's in some of the Scandinavian countries, right, where their maternity can go up to like more than a year.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. And they do that because they have actually observed that, when mothers are too quick to come back to work, their productivity goes down because they know that they have had to separate
yeah.
before time. And when they've extended that maternity leave, they've had the time to nurse, to bond and nurture their children. And when they come back energized, ready to hit the ground running. So those are some of the things. And also obviously in places like the US, where some companies will offer like and again, depending on how severe the illness is, are you going to be medically boarded? And then, is there a support, some financial support or insurance to help you cope and things like that? So those are some of the things that we can adopt as South Africa.
Like I said, you are not here for them. You are here for me as well. I didn't hear that. I like it. I like
Yeah.
Yes, and I understand that you are more into the corporate world.
Yes.
You deal more with the employer and
Yeah.
employee. But I just want to ask this one
Mm.
that how would you advise a family that as entire family they are going through a mental health due
Mm.
to childhood trauma,
Yeah.
the upbringing, but this family ka mokgwa ba gotseng ka gona, it has affected them.
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
how would you
Advise that.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, that is a tough one, right? And we will see it in our communities and things like that. And I think for me, the first step is to, if there's one person in the family that observes hora as something I shapo ka mo gae, and then they speak up, whether you speak up to a community leader, you speak up to your pastor in your local church,
yeah.
or the local social workers, so that you start the conversation and seek out help. And obviously, once you start the conversation, then you are able to be guided, whether even you speak to your coach or your teacher, they'll be able to say, okay, I hear that there's an issue. I would advise let's channel this way. Then you can be redirected to a professional who can then start the counseling process for the whole family or the individuals. So it's about having that confidence to put your hand up and say, I'm not okay. And that's why we have coaches, leaders in the community and so forth, so that we can reach out to those people.
And beside childhood trauma,
Hmm.
what else can cause mental health issues? Because mental health issues, I think it's something that we take very light.
Yeah.
Some people re na le yona, e tswa re tswa kgole le yona,
Yeah. Yeah.
some it's because of the things that we inherit. What else do you think it can?
Yeah. And yeah, re tswa hole le yona, and I think also we underplay it. We just
Yeah,
brush it off, we underplay it. And like we were talking about, Mental Health Month and Workers' Day, research has also shown that job related stress
yeah,
is on the rise and is now the number one contributor of mental health in illnesses like depression and anxiety.
yeah.
So you might look at childhood trauma or other trauma and sort of negate the workspace. But job related stress does contribute to the rise of mental illnesses. And of course, there will be other issues again, social issues like,
Yeah.
unemployment, poverty, and a simple thing, it's not so simple, but, a simple thing like load shedding can contribute immensely to the mental health of individuals. Yeah.
I think in everything you just need support,
Yeah.
because I'm just going back to what you said, your story.
Mm.
Just imagine if you're coming back from work that I can't do it anymore, and you get somebody that's, you are just lazy, go
Yeah.
back to work.
Yeah.
Or for gore ha botse, you just need the supportive person or supportive
Oh
people,
my God.
then we bring them to you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The support structure is imperative.
Yeah.
It is imperative, and I'm so glad you used that example of you are lazy, because this is the language that we need to move away from.
Yes.
We need to move away from that language of calling people lazy, crazy, all
Mm.
these sorts of things. We need to be aware of what is happening with the people around us, right?
Mm.
And offer the assistance. And this is what we do as coaches. We help you navigate all those confusing, excuse me, confusing emotions and all of that. And obviously, then redirect you to the professionals.
Mm.
So yeah, I think for me, awareness and education is key.
It's
We
key.
cannot be using language like that, calling people
Yeah.
lazy, crazy. No, there's an underlying issue that needs to be investigated and then offer the support. Everybody, deserves to have to live a full life professionally, personally, and just be a holistic being.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, we are learning. We are learning. We are learning. Correct. We are learning. I'm just
Mm,
imagining me going back, to the
mm.
villages.
Yes.
You are the only breadwinner.
Yeah.
They are looking up to you,
Hmm.
from grandmother to the grandchildren, that,
Exactly.
and you tell them that I had to quit because I'm not coping.
Yeah.
So knowledge is the key.
Yeah, and it will crush them, right? Because for them, like you say, they're looking up to you. You are a savior, and then the most important thing is that they do not understand.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you stressing about? You have a job. You have a good job. You're looking beautiful. What is the stress about exactly?
Hmm.
So this is why it's so complex to even explain. And I often say to my listeners or to even the people that I coach that, having worked this journey, I know exactly. You deal with things like stress wa yini kahle kahle.
Because you are beautiful,
Yeah, you have a good job,
you dress nice,
you dress nice,
you speak English.
yeah, bo, you speak you speak English. So what is the problem? And then those questions then put the doubt in your head to say, "Ah man, maybe
Ah,
vele,
right.
ah, man, ke right, man." And then it builds over, and then that's when people get to the tipping, because now you've convinced yourself, all right, actually I'm okay. So when somebody says, and now we hear a lot of people talking about this, be kind to others and be kind to yourself, because really we don't know what people are going through. And also, oh, the other example I wanted to give also is that when I left work due to illness, and it was during COVID, right? Everybody was at home, so it wasn't, you know. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, what do I tell my mom? And I've been trying to tell her over the years to say, man, I'm so tired. I hate this job. Oh, I'm stressful. And she'll be like, hey, no, 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 no. You've got such a good job. Why would you? No. I'm like, yo, how am I going to explain this to her? But eventually I found the courage to say, you know what? This is the situation. My body couldn't,
Take it
you
anymore.
explain it in a way that will be understandable to her. And surprisingly, she was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. As long as
Oh,
you are
ifundile
okay."
umama wakho. Hayi, hayi.
No, but I agree. You need to sit and explain. Wabona, "Alright, no, okay, it's fine." And she'll be like, "Oh, but what did your husband say?" Like, "No, my
He
husband is my support
understands.
structure."
Yeah.
Says, "Oh, okay, as long as you and your husband are fine." So it takes time to even to bring yourself to tell people, "Hore, this is what is happening." First of all, it's difficult because it is also confusing for you.
Mm.
It is difficult because it feels like your whole identity has been ripped away from you. You don't you used
Mm.
to thrive, you used to work, and and now you feel like you don't work, and now what? A lot of
Yeah.
people can't even describe themselves outside of their job.
Yeah.
So I had to relearn that, to in my healing journey, to relearn who I am, what I
Yeah.
like, because my focus has always been around my job.
Wow.
Mm.
And I understand that whenever people go through,
Mm.
sometimes they have those mood swings.
Yeah.
How does one overcome that?
Yeah. Whew. And I think also, like I mentioned earlier, that self-awareness is very key,
Mm,
right? It's key because you'll be able to attend to situations before they spiral out of control.
mm,
Um, if you're seeing a certain changes in behavior, and you know that, man, I'm not myself, the Muslims are getting, then you should be able to say to yourself, this requires further investigation. This is not who I am. But it takes a level of awareness,
mm,
right?
mm,
And acceptance,
mm,
and acknowledgement, to say, this is out of character for me.
mm.
Why am I behaving this way? Why is this happening? And then investigating.
Kore ka re ke a ipona ke re no, now I'm changing. My situation needs Tsametse.
Yes, definitely.
Ever?
Yeah.
If I overthink, I stress, I know I need, because as black people, this thing I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and it is about finding, a coach like myself, just to help you navigate.
Hmm.
Okay, like, and to even acknowledge, hore, no, you're not. It's not all in your head.
Hmm.
These things, they happen. This is an illness. Because I remember I struggled a lot with guilt and confusion, because I thought, no, man, I'm a crybaby. I need to put my big girl panties and just soldier on.
Hmm.
And as I soldiered on, I created
Damage.
more damage. Exactly. You know what I mean? And when you speak to people, because people don't understand, you're thinking, hi man, you start thinking, okay, maybe
Hmm.
I'm overthinking this, I'm imagining it.
Hmm.
So it is good to speak to somebody who has the experience, who has the expertise, who
Hmm.
will then guide you and navigate, to help you navigate the emotions, the challenges at work, help you understand the policies and the rights and things like that.
I hear.
Mm.
And what is the best way, or is there a way that one can, heal from depression without using medication?
Sure, that's a good question. Because for you to heal, right, you need to acknowledge that there's an issue, and obviously you need to be diagnosed by a medical
Mm,
professional, like a psychiatrist and so forth. And I think, honestly, depending on the severity of the illness or the depression, the expert will advise whether does it require medication, or does it require, dialogue. And obviously, in my line of work as a coach, is basically trying to help people put practices in place to help them cope with the daily activities, and just helping them demystify, limiting beliefs and
mm,
things like that, because those are some of the things that they can just overwhelm a person.
mm,
That's the work that we do, and working closely with the doctors and the psychologists, so that if a situation escalates, we know where to channel the person.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
And I know you've touched it that if one, let's say one has a mental issue,
Mm.
you should just see with the changes in your life.
Yeah.
So let's say maybe the changes it's things that good. I want us to talk to
Mm.
somebody that we know. Le know what's about
Yeah.
changes already, like what you born. There's
Wadibona,
changes,
yes.
but they keep on saying, I will do it. I will do it. I will do it. I will.
Get in touch. Let's have a conversation. Get in touch. Let's have a conversation, and let's figure it out, because that's why we are here as, coaches or HR professionals, or,
Mm,
life coaches. Let's have a conversation, book a consult, let's talk, and let's
mm,
help you figure out if this is a serious issue that we need to escalate, or this is something that we just need you to help you manage through, strategies and practices that you can apply in your daily life.
And if a person needs help or counseling or coaching in their career, where can they find you?
So I am available on all socials, right? Tsametse Nkuta on Instagram and also on LinkedIn, Tsametse Nkuta.
Okay.
And you can also email me at hello@tsametsenkuta.com.
Hello.
hello@tsametsenkuta.com. And obviously, once you get in touch with me, then we'll be able to book a consultation and take it from there. And it's the same thing with organizations and corporates. I do a lot of workshops, training, facilitation
Okay.
between employees and employers, teams, and so forth, and basically creating that space for individuals to have that conversation.
And even can the people who, let's say, who are going through depression, they can still contact you, right? Then you will help them to guide them to the.
To the right, exactly, exactly.
Okay. There's this scenario that I want to share with you, and let's say there's a family,
Mm-hmm.
there's a father in the house,
Mm,
and the father is a breadwinner, the only breadwinner,
mm,
and
mm.
Utata is the head,
Yes.
and he goes to work, and everyone is looking up
Yeah, to him.
to him, and good, this scenario came as you're talking that, and now I'm looking at Abubaba wage, more
Yeah,
especially from the
yeah,
villages. They will leave the villages, come to Joburg, come and work, and
yeah.
no one understand that
Mm,
it's
mm,
heavy out there.
yeah.
You know, what advice can you give to that support structure, those people that are supposed to be supporting the head?
Mm,
Because
mm,
if it doesn't come with 100 rand, we are angry. If it
yeah.
doesn't buy the same bread that the neighbors bought, we are angry.
Angry.
So what advice can you give to the children, the wife, just to support
Mm,
that employee that is struggling up there?
mm. Sure. Yeah, that is a very good and deep question. And, it makes me also think of my own dynamic in my own home to say, my husband is always out there, working. And the support structure is important, guys, because
Yeah,
remember, as much as a person is a head and a father, and there's so much expectation of them, they're still a human being who deals with a whole lot of things that any other person like myself and you deal with, right? They will go to work and have challenges at work that we might not know of. They will go they will have challenges about their own mental health issues in the workplace.
mm,
So the support structure in the home is very key, and also to create also that platform for the father to be able to say, what, today is not a
yeah,
good day. I had a tough day at work. This
mm,
is what family is about. You should
yeah,
leave your work and be able to come home and be comfortable enough to have that conversation without all these things expected from you.
yeah,
Because again, it's about helping each other be holistic human beings,
yeah,
right? Yes, you are the head, you are the father, but also you are an individual. You have your own personal goals. You have, so it's about helping each other be holistic beings, whether we are family, mom, dad, child. It's about just supporting each other reach our dreams in a
holistic.
holistic and what's the word I'm looking for? And yeah, in a healthy way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we close,
Mm.
what advice can you give to somebody that is saying, I'm here and I'm listening to you? Where do I start? I know you are available on all socials,
Mm-hmm.
but where do I start?
Yeah. Okay. So in the workplace, obviously, there will be different channels for
Yeah.
your immediate workplace, right?
Mm,
Like, in the workplace, you'll have your HR, you'll have your line manager. That these are immediate people that you can speak to. Obviously,
mm,
if the environment allows, right?
yes.
You have work-life well-being champions in the organization that you can speak with,
Mm,
and if that fails, then you have the expertise of your coach. You have the support of a coach that you can reach out for myself. And again, failing that, there's also support within. We have SADC. which is the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
Okay.
That offers a whole lot of counseling over the phone. We have resources. So it's about just taking that first step,
Yeah.
even if it's just a phone call or a DM to say, I need the help. Let's just start the conversation and see how we can help you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I've learned one thing that I've learned, one word that I can come out with is that grateful. We need to be grateful. Number one,
Yeah,
we need to appreciate ourselves. We need to love ourselves too much in a way that we can quit.
yeah,
We need to,
yes.
to be grateful that thank God I'm alive.
Mm.
The miracle tla. I
Yeah,
think people struggle from holding on.
yeah. I had an interview yesterday, and the host was saying that as she was wrapping the interview, was saying that, you know what, we can outsource so many things. You can outsource your house to be cleaned. You can outsource cooking. You can outsource even tutoring your kids and homeworks, but you cannot outsource your health.
Oh,
You cannot outsource your health,
you can.
and it sounds so cliche because we say it all the time, willy-nilly, oh, health is wealth, but it really is.
Yeah.
It really, really is. It's not something, that's why I often say that you have to be proactive
Hmm.
about your mental health and overall well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be a priority, and you have to be proactive about it.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate, and may the Lord keep you for us.
Thank you so much. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
And what you have shared with us today, I know generations are going to change.
Yes.
Thank you so much, family, for tuning in. Let me tell you something. One thing that I've learned is that from today, let us use the DM Tsametse Nkuta as you follow her on Instagram and subscribe to her YouTube channel. Make sure that you do not just follow, just DM and see what she can help you with. I know I've learned that let us, run away from holding on from the things that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Do not forget to subscribe and do not forget to check all our podcast platform and download and share the links with your family. Wherever you are watching me from, God bless you and I love you so much.